As employees are being called to return to the office, they are facing more challenges at home, including the cost of childcare. In 2021, 16% of childcare workers switched jobs and occupations, and 14% stopped working entirely. That's the highest percentage since the data has been tracked by USA Facts. Joining us right now to break down the data is USA Facts President and Managing Director Poppy McDonald. And Poppy, I think it's so important what you all are doing right now, kind of highlighting the numbers so we see things, because we've been talking anecdotally about how childcare is hard to find, how it's hard to find teachers and there's a huge shortage, but there aren't real national statistics to track a lot of these things. You guys are shining some light so we can tell what's really happening. And why don't we break it down starting with childcare first? What's happening? What do you see in the facts?
Absolutely. So USA Facts certainly heard the swirl of concern of are people leaving their occupations because of the pandemic. And when it comes to the numbers, we wanted to look at government data. What is it telling us about who is leaving their occupations? On average, post the pandemic, 2020 to 2021, 13% of Americans were choosing to leave their occupations. That's consistent with before the pandemic, 2019 to 2020. It was also 13%. Far higher, though, for childcare workers, where, as you mentioned, 30% chose to leave their occupations. That was up from 25% in 2017. For teachers, below the average, about 9% are choosing to leave their occupations. It's been fairly consistent, however, higher when you look at occupations in teaching, like pre-K and kindergarten, where it was 17%. And for teachers' assistants, where it doubled from 9% in 2017 to 18% in 2020. So you can certainly see concern, right, as parents go back. Will there be qualified daycare teachers there? Will there be teachers there to support their kids?
How does this match up with what we've seen in other occupations? Because I know people thought nurses were getting burned out, that they were going to be quitting their jobs, that this kind of ran through a lot of different occupations. What do you see across the spectrum?
We did not see that for nurses. So what we're looking at, right, is who chooses to leave their occupation, not nurses choosing to go from a hospital, but who are remaining a nurse and maybe going into a private care setting. So nurses, we saw it be pretty consistent, but when you look at an occupation like daycare workers, they are up there in terms of bartenders, people in the food service. As a parent, if you think about the consistency of who's taking care of your child during the day versus who's serving you your food, both valid and important occupations, but we are seeing childcare workers up there in terms of a direct correlation in the data about who's leaving their occupation. And it's people who are low paid. Childcare workers make about $13 on average. They're at the far end of the spectrum when we map the data in terms of their compensation, right there with maintenance workers and folks who work in landscaping. And so we see a direct correlation. The lower paid you are, the less training you have, the higher likelihood it is that you are going to choose to leave your occupation.